Daniel chapter 9 records one of the most fascinating prophecies in all of Scripture. It's the prophecy that's commonly referred to as Daniel's 70 weeks. I have found over the years that people often have a tough time grasping the concept of Daniel's 70 weeks. I'm surely not an expert on the subject, but I believe that if you'll pay careful attention, you might gain an understanding of the meaning and the purpose of Daniel's 70 weeks. Jeremiah was the primary prophet of the Lord in Judah when Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, made 3 separate sieges of Judah in the space of about 20 years. In that first siege, young Daniel was one of the many people who were taken as captives back to Babylon. Some years later, the prophet Jeremiah, still back in Judah, wrote a letter to the people that were in captivity in Babylon. You'll find the contents of that letter in Jeremiah chapter 29. Jeremiah 29:10 summarizes the message of the letter. For thus saith the Lord, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you and perform my good word toward you in causing you to return to this place. In Daniel 9, Daniel confirms that after considering Jeremiah's prophecy, he realized that this dark chapter of Israel's history, known as the captivity, would soon be coming to a close. And Daniel says in Daniel 9:2, in the first year of Darius's reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. This understanding led Daniel to immediately begin to intercede for the future of his beloved people. Daniel 9:17, Now therefore, O our God, hear the prayer of thy servant and his supplications, and cause thy face to shine upon thy sanctuary that is desolate for the Lord's sake. Jeremiah's prophecy of hope for Israel's future moved Daniel to plead for God to work among his people in the future. God answered Daniel by showing him his plans for Israel in the years after the end of the captivity. This current phase of God's work, the captivity, would last 70 years. The next phase of God's work in Israel would last 70 times 7 years, or as the Bible states it, 70 weeks. The term week in the Bible doesn't always mean a set of 7 days. Sometimes it means a set of 7 years. For example, in Genesis 29:27, when Laban told Jacob that to marry Rachel, he would have to work an additional 7 years, he said, fulfill her week. He described 7 years as a week. And the context in Daniel 9 is clear that 70 weeks means 70 sets of 7 years, for a total of 490 years. These 490 years would complete the work that God would do in Israel. Daniel 9:24, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city. The same verse says that the purpose of these 490 years was sixfold: to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. This 490-year period would begin with the decree to rebuild Jerusalem, which is described in the book of Nehemiah. It would last all the way until the death of the Messiah, the crucifixion of Jesus. But the full 490 years would not be completed at the death of Christ. Only 483 of those years, or 69 weeks, would be completed at that point. The final 7 years, the 70th week, would still lay ahead. And to this day, that 70th week has not yet taken place. It's still in the future. The 70th set of 7 years is what we refer to as the tribulation period. What the Lord didn't show Daniel is that there would be an age of roughly 2,000 years in between the 69th and the 70th weeks, the age in which we're living right now, which we call the church age. When the church age is finished, the church will be taken out of this world, and God's attention will immediately be focused on Israel again. What we call the tribulation period is God finishing his work with his people Israel. That's why the church will be raptured before the tribulation. God's work with the church will be finished, and Israel will again be the focus of God's work on earth. During the 7-year tribulation period, God will be doing everything necessary to make Israel ready to receive her king, for him to reign on earth for 1,000 years. So Daniel's 70 weeks are God's plan for doing his great work among his people Israel. They're 70 sets of 7 years, for a total of 490 years. 483 of those years were already fulfilled, ending with the death of Jesus. The rapture is the event that will transition the world from the church age to that 70th week. Christian, God has a very specific plan for the future of this world. It's completely on track at this very moment. Everything's right on schedule. And as a child of God, you have the privilege of being a part of it. Stay the course.